Believe it or not, it's not all rosy in the Rose City. Yes, there are some less than favorable things about living in Portland, Oregon, and in this video, we're going to talk about them. So stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And if this is your first time to the channel living in Oregon and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. We've helped so many people relocate to Oregon and move to the Portland metro area. And as real estate professionals, we love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to Portland. All right, so yes, there are some things about living in Portland that people just flat out don't like, or things that could use some improvement, and we're gonna get started on this list. Number one being Portland is a small city. It's a little bit of a sleepy town. Despite being the 25th largest metro area in the country, it really lacks a big city feel. Aside from the cultural elements that people tend to like about Portland, it really lacks a lot of notoriety. Portland's not really known for much, of course, aside from the natural beauty, beers, bikes, rain, and yes, strip clubs. Portland has more strip clubs per capita than any other city in the country. Overall, there's just not this bustling environment here, and I think a lot of people probably tend to favor that to some extent, but there's really a notable lack of energy. And speaking of lacking, there's a serious lack of inventory when it comes to homes. It's really hard to find a house in Portland. The pandemic era of real estate saw record low inventory, but we're just barely crawling back. And inventory is measured by number of months it would take for all the current homes on the market to sell. And during the pandemic, we were under 1 month. It has doubled to just over 2 months, but historically, it's not until you get to 5 or 6 months until it's considered a buyer's market. Buyers are getting good deals right now though, because the dynamics have shifted a little bit. So if you want to learn how to get a good deal in a low inventory environment, you just got to reach out to us. All right, next on the list, rain, rain, go away. Seriously, it really can be miserable from November to March. You're gonna get a majority of overcast days and you're going to get a ton of rain. And really the weather can turn around Labor Day, and some years you're not really getting consistent nice weather until the 4th of July. I think for most people, even those who have been here their whole lives like myself, I mean, it can really start to weigh you down as you get into these overcast and rainy months. Is it tolerable? Yes. Can it be really miserable at times? Most definitely. The rain too is something to consider as a homeowner. I mean, moisture is probably going to be a home's worst enemy, and there are definitely things you want to do to mitigate exposure to moisture, in particular to wood throughout the structure of your home, like, you know, your siding, your roof, your framing, decking, things like that. The other side of the coin are the heat waves. I mean, we're so used to mild weather here, you know, living typically within probably the high 40s to mid 70s, that when these heat waves start to come, it can often be even worse than some of the rainier times of the year. Just last year, we had what seemed to be weeks of high 90s to low hundreds. And we even had a stretch of 3 days where it was 115, capping out at 116. That's just too toasty. All right, next on the list are the wildfires. So, you know, what comes with long stretches of dry weather, long dry spells, as well as record-setting heat waves, you're going to get a lot of wildfires. Growing up in Portland, I don't really remember getting wildfire smoke really much at all. Really, it wasn't up until about 2015, but nowadays it seems like every year you're getting stretches of smoke in the air, and sometimes multiple times a year. In fact, this year, we had about a week in October of wildfire smoke, which that's definitely a first from what I can remember. Fires from Oregon and Washington and British Columbia can produce wildfire smoke that can blanket the Portland metro area. And again, I remember it was probably about, I think it was 2015 was the first year I really noticed it. I used to live in the Pearl District on the waterfront, and from our deck and from our windows facing east, you could see across the Willamette River. And I came downstairs one morning, looked out the window, and you couldn't see across the river anymore. And the Willamette River is really not that wide, so it was pretty alarming. All right, next on the list is that Portland is really pretty isolated from other cities. And I think just like being a little bit of a sleepier town, some people might tend to enjoy this, in particular because, within a 100-mile, 200-mile radius, there are a ton of areas that you can get to that, have these beautiful landscapes, undeveloped landscapes that allow for a lot of the things that people like to do in their spare time, like hiking and biking, sightseeing, and just getting out and enjoying nature. There's a lot of great smaller towns too within a relatively quick radius of Portland, but your access to visit and to travel to other cities is really limited. Seattle's the closest neighbor to the north, and it's really at best about a 3-mile drive. Other than that, you're not really able to access other major metro areas and other cities. So if that's something that you would like to be doing, I mean, this isn't like the East Coast where you have several big cities within an hour, 2-hour drive. I mean, you have Salem, Corvallis, Eugene to the south, but these places aren't really destinations unless you like college football. I would say in Oregon, Bend is probably the most frequented area when you look at another city, but Bend is just over 100,000 people. It really has more of a small town feel. And the Oregon coast is very close too. So Central Oregon and Bend and the coast, which has a lot of towns, ranging from about 1,000 to 10,000 people, are really probably the closest destinations as far as driving. So again, the Portland metro area is really pretty isolated. All right, next on the list is the traffic. Portland has some of the worst traffic in the country. Typically, Portland's gonna be ranked about between 10th and 15th on these lists where you see the worst traffic in the country ranked. But like I mentioned, Portland is the 25th largest metro area in the country, so we're really punching above our weight when it comes to traffic. Depending on your route and where you live, your travel time could easily double during peak traffic times. Maybe this will get better over time with more planning and infrastructure, but for now, it's bad. It's no wonder so many people use bikes to commute here, but Portland does have one of the best public transit systems in the country, so if you want to opt for not being in your car very much for your commute, you can take the light rail, the Max line, or of course, any of the bus routes. All right, next on the list, and not to beat a dead horse here, but I would get ripped apart in the comments if I didn't mention it, crime, homelessness. Yes, it's bad. In particular, homelessness, which has seemed to hit a point of being uncontrollable in recent years. I think regardless of opinions about solutions, everyone would agree that it's an issue. And one thing to note is that in nearby and outlying suburbs within the Portland metro area, it's really not nearly as much of a problem, if at all. So I think that is a common misconception. And unless you've been here to kind of see for yourself, you wouldn't really know based on things you see in the media, see in the news, etc., that it's really not probably as pervasive as you may think. I mean, even in Portland proper, within city limits, it's not everywhere. But again, yes, of course, it is a problem. And, that's why if it is a concern that, working with the right realtor and real estate team, you're going to be able to find an area that you feel most comfortable in. Maybe something like this isn't necessarily at the top of the list as far as your concerns. But again, these are things that we can talk about when we start talking about your home search and what areas are going to suit you best. There is some good news too. The Portland City Council just voted to ban street camping, as well as provide substance abuse counselors and mental health professionals, as well as develop hundreds of affordable housing units on city grounds. So they're actually looking to identify right now city property where they can develop these affordable housing units. There are, again, temporary housing units that have been set up as well. So you see these little pods around the city where they have these little tiny homes. And I think there's maybe 50, 60, 70 at most in these different areas. And on site, they actually have people 24/7, again, mental health professionals, substance abuse counselors, things like that. So this is all very welcome news that I think a lot of people really are in favor of. So are these things a big enough deterrent to not move to the Portland metro area? Everyone's different, obviously, but these are issues that are pervasive, some more than others. Some of these things that I mentioned are going to be potentially positives. You know, they're going to be potentially pros. They're going to be things that bring people to the area, like being a little bit of a smaller city, a little bit more of a sleepier town, and having that relative isolation. But, you know, the rain, the traffic, the heat waves, the wildfires, and of course, some of the homelessness and issues that come along with that. These are things that, you know, the city is starting to work on. There are things that can't be changed, obviously, like the gray days, the overcast, the rain. So if there's anything that I missed, feel free to leave it in the comments. That's something maybe we can talk about in another video. If you are thinking about moving to the Portland metro area, make sure to give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. On that call, we can talk about your timeline, your budget, putting together a game plan so you're ready to hit the ground running when the time comes. And we can have that conversation well in advance of your move too. The more prepared you are, the more success you're going to have moving to Portland. If this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. And if you want to get more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. We really appreciate you watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.